So there's a job, then there's gainful employment, which is probably where you a lot of people live. And then there's this place of deep purpose, you might call it calling, where your gainful employment matches what you're passionate and purposeful about. You reproduce what you are. Culture transcends your vision. Self-awareness is not knowing your own feelings and naming them. Self-awareness is being aware of how other people experience you.
What is up, everyone? I'm Ejay Cruz, and this is The Parables, your go-to source for inspiration, wisdom, and real conversations to help you become your highest self. If you are new to the podcast, I welcome you, and I am grateful that you are here. And if you're a returning listener, I appreciate you running it back, and rocking with us. But man, I am so excited for today's episode because I have an incredible individual sitting in front of me. And just to give some context, when I was thinking of and envisioning the podcast, season 2, or what we're calling the Parables 2.0, I thought to myself, who are some guests I know I have to have in season 2? And that one of those individuals is sitting right in front of me. I'm so excited and so happy it's finally happening. Yeah. But, this is someone I admire tremendously. I consider this person not only my friend, but a brother, a mentor, and just an incredible leader, not only in our community. And I'm confident he knows this, but just in case he doesn't, also just how he leads his family, something that's very, very important to me. We're going to be talking about a little bit of our story and kind of like how we met. But man, I'm so happy you're here, brother. Please welcome Aaron Ophaug.
Awesome. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you having me today and those kind words. And man, likewise. I mean, you and who you are and the leader you are and the friend you are, I look up to you. So I think that it's kind of what makes a good friendship, is where you kind of see in the other person all these great qualities that you want to aspire to too. So thank you, man. You've done a great job with this podcast. In fact, this podcast was basically how we met when we were first in line at the coffee shop. We'll get to that, I imagine. But it was this podcast when I started listening to it, and I was like, this guy knows what he's up to. And so I'm honored to be here and to be a part of your community.
Man, I appreciate you. It's so funny you say that, because the reality is I did not know what I was doing. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And something I forgot to mention, actually, when I was introducing you, is Aaron also happens to be my pastor. Okay, he's the senior pastor at Friends Church Eastvale here in Southern California. We'll dive into that. But Aaron, man, I'm just so excited. I know we're always about stories and humble beginnings, and I'm kind of sad that you didn't see the beginning of the podcast when I had it back at my house in my little freaking guest room upstairs in my 10 by 12 square foot guest room, man.
Heck yeah.
But the fact that you're here is all that matters. And so let's dive into it, man. I know, again, I like to just really just have a great conversation off the top of the dome, but I also know there's lots of things that we're going to unpack today that I think will really change people's lives, transform them. Yeah. And so if we could, I just want to start just real quick. We'll get to the story of how we met and the inception of our beautiful church. But just if you could just give a quick, maybe 60, 90 seconds about yourself, where you grew up, and, kind of what's led to today, please.
Well, just because I'm a pastor, if you're listening and you're part of the audience watching, don't be like, I'm out on this one. I never intended to be a pastor. Never in my life was I was religious at all. I grew up in a faith home, a home of faith. But I myself wasn't somebody who was sold out on anything religiously. I was an athlete. And then when I was 20 years old, we'll get to this. I came to a deep conviction about the person of Jesus, and I was like, I'm down with this guy. I'll tell you more about that later on. And just through a series of, honestly, leadership conversations with people, never wanted to be in the church, never thought I'd be in the church, came and got involved in one, and all of a sudden started to find myself actually loving the opportunities that existed in the local church and the ways that we can develop leaders and impact lives and see life change in families and kids. And I've been now serving in the role of a pastor for 18 years. I've been leading my own church for 5 years now. So honestly, it's kind of crazy to even talk about, but the journey's been really cool and real, and I'm thankful to be here.
That is awesome. Yeah. So I'm curious, and by the way, guys, for those listening, there's lots of things I actually still don't know, even though, I would say, we have a great relationship together. So I'm so happy, like I'm, to actually impact this. Where was in that, that was in a nutshell, right? But where in that journey was the decision to actually pursue, becoming a pastor and all that stuff?
Well, I was a senior in college, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and who I was, and we'll get to that later on a little bit. But I was trying to figure some things out, and I wanted to be a psychologist. I have a deep sense of compassion for people that God's inherently put in me, and empathy for people. And I thought I would be a psychologist or a social worker of some kind. And I didn't know what to do, so no jobs were opening up. So I just signed up for a master's program in theology somewhere, and I was like, I guess I'll just go back to school. So didn't know what to do. So I moved to LA, went to a college in LA, and while I was working on that, I had a mentor of mine who was an executive pastor, which kind of oversees like HR, logistics, those kind of things at a big church. And he said to me, Aaron, some of the best advice I ever got, he said, no one's going to do it for you, Aaron. And, when it was like at that moment, I thought all this church stuff was like, oh, it's just, flowers and nice people. And I realized like there's a lot of great leaders in the church. And that word to me, no one's going to do it for you. It just revealed like, oh, wow, like you got to work hard. You got to become a great leader to lead a great church. It doesn't just happen.
So in leading a church, not so, but also in life too, or just the
both
got it. Okay, got it.
And that sent me on a bit of a leadership journey to really think about what my future was, and then I started just getting more involved in a local church and realizing, wow, like I'm being stretched to my max. Like leading people is hard. Leading a business is hard. Leading a faith community is hard. And I was just growing a ton because I was leading people. They talk about you learn the best when you teach.
Yes.
And the same thing, like you become the best leader when you lead. And I think you become the most humble servant when you lead people because you realize no one's going to follow me if I'm not helping people grow and adding value to them. So I was just getting stretched and,
were you putting yourself in that position? Sorry to interrupt. Were you putting yourself in that position, or was like your mentor kind of like putting you in that position? Or
a good question. Other people were.
Okay.
Other people were. I was just being challenged. People were asking me, "Would you speak at this? Would you lead this?" On my own, I think maybe like other people, I would kind of my natural bent is passivity.
Yeah.
And I'm ambitious, but I think when it comes to like faith stuff, initially I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And people were asking me. And then what would happen is after I would do something or lead something, people would be like, hey, you're good at that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, self-awareness is really important in leadership.
Absolutely.
And in anything, but especially in business leadership and in church leadership, you have to be aware of yourself. And self-awareness is not, the way I define it, self-awareness is not knowing your own feelings and naming them. Self-awareness is being aware of how other people experience you. How am I coming across to my employees right now? How am I coming across to this person right now? And am I able to regulate myself and have self-control so that I can be all that they need me to be and help them become the best version of themselves?
Yeah.
So self-awareness isn't just like I feel upset or dysregulated right now. Self-awareness is how's Ejay experiencing me right now? And how can I be a better person? How's my son and my daughter experiencing me at home after a long day right now? And can I mature to set those things aside so that I can be all that my kids need me to be as a dad?
Yeah.
So, I was being put in these positions and I was growing a lot. And then I was also seeing people's lives changed. And when you see people's lives changed for the good and you see redemption, because we're all about redemption, and seeing people go from chaos to healing to potential. I was like, man, I want to be part of this.
Yeah, I love that. And the reason why I asked that is because I'm sure you know this, the best friends or the people that care about you the most are those that challenge you. And I say that too because you always challenge me too, which I appreciate.
Yeah,
actually. it makes me uncomfortable in the beginning, but like, I'm just like, no, like I love this. I love being surrounded by people such as yourself, people who see the full potential in me. And it sounds like that's kind of what was going on at that time, right?
Yeah. And one of the great, for your listeners and just, for me, I've taken away to challenge people is having what I call a I, C, and U conversation. So an I, C, and U, like literally the letters I, C, and U, is a conversation where you say to somebody, I see this in you. Ejay, I see a great podcast host in you. Have you ever thought about hosting a podcast? And, that type of conversation between a business owner and employees, a teacher to a student, a coach to a player, a pastor to a congregation member can change your life.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I see in you these qualities. Have you ever thought about that before?
Yeah.
No. And, I think the local church can be a catalyst for a lot of good if every person of faith and every leader would have more of those kind of conversations with people around them. Because no one hears that kind of affirmation.
Yes.
And we got to have that in our world so that people can become all that God wants them to become.
That's so funny. You mentioned that. I love where this conversation's going already. It's because, my wife, Jamie, she knows the type I am. I fish for compliments from her. And I always joke around with her and tell her like,
hey, babe, how's this look?
Yeah, no, but it's just like, to me, people don't give enough compliments to others.
Right.
And to me, that's powerful. Because you could use that in a way. It's not only like, am I expressing how I feel about you and what I see about you, but also it's like, take you to your next potential.
Yeah.
Right.
It will take people, to another place. Like literally, I see in you somebody, if you can call out something in them that they don't quite see in themselves, they will hold on to that for a very long time.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, we all have a false self and a true self. And the false self for us is this person that we want to be loved as, like, oh, I want other people to love this part of me. And, we have all different types of parts of ourselves, right? We have the fun part and we have the serious part and all that. But we also have this false part that we think we need to be loved by. And then there's this true part in us that's like the real self. And what I've learned about spirituality and God and Jesus is that God loves the real Aaron. And the more that I experience God's love in the most real parts of me, then I can be the real me to the whole world.
Yeah.
But until I experience that love of God, the overwhelming love of God, then it's really easy for me to hide. And but when we get into like parenting relationships and mentoring relationships and marriage, those relationships can also be a mirror of God's love for somebody, and you can call something out in them and they go, that's really who I am.
Yeah.
You can, a parent can say to a child like, hey, God's, you're really good at this. And you can call something out that's real in them, and that child can go, whoa, I never knew that. And they grow in self-esteem and love. A coach does that for an athlete. A teacher does that for a student. And so, but God does that for us, where he loves us in the real places. And then we get to do that for other people.
Well, it's like they're starting their self-awareness at that point too. Exactly what you said, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's talk about now, let's get into the little bit of story about how we met.
Yeah, let's do it.
Right? And again, please go back if I'm jumping too quickly. So, now actually, I'm curious. When was the time that actually God put in your heart, like, okay, I need to plant a church?
Yeah.
Like, what did that look like?
Oh, man. In 2017, I was in a position at a church that was very comfortable. Was leading well. Everything was going great. And I just started to have a desire to really lead something that was kind of on my own. And
the ambitious side.
I was ambitious. Yeah. And it was like, I just had a heart for like, I want to, I think a leader, one of the ways to see leadership is not just influence, but one of the ways to understand leadership is, can you gather people? And if you can gather people, and when I say people, I mean like a group of 30, if you can gather 30 to 50 people, I'm like, you're a leader. Not everyone can do that, by the way.
Yeah.
Some can, some cannot. But I think a leader is somebody who can rally people online, in person, And I'm a rallier. I can get people together. And I'm like, I wanted to gather people. And I had a ministry where it was like 4 here, 5 here, but they were not connected. And I was like, what if I could just get everyone together in the same room? You know, and that started to grow in me. And then someone offered me like, hey, why don't you take and start a church in Anaheim? And I was like, cool. So I was going down to Anaheim. If you know downtown Anaheim, there's like a really cool downtown district. They have a couple pubs there and all that. And I was going down there and walking around and it just did not like click. So I took another position at a different church because it just, all of a sudden God worked and some doors open. I'm like, okay, I guess this is what God has for me.
Nice.
And part of that job was for me to go to Africa. And I go to Africa 2018, and I'm in a small village in Uganda. I mean, this thing was in the middle of nowhere, dude. And I'm in this village, and we're doing medical care of people. It was amazing. We're caring for feet that had been hit by farming equipment and just loving people, man. And I meet this guy. He's got this doctor's outfit on, bro. And he has a medical book in his hand. And I'm like, who are you? He's like, oh, I'm the village doctor, but I'm also the village pastor, and I'm the village, like basically he was the village everything, okay? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I came here to help them know Jesus. And I grew up like down the corner, and I started a church in this village. But then I realized they didn't have any medical care. So I ordered like an old school medical book on Amazon, and I learned medicine. Now, I don't know how legit this medicine was, okay? But this is all they had, bro. So this guy's like caring for people while he's telling them about Jesus. And these people's lives were changed. And I go, this is so cool. He goes, no, it's okay. He said, I want to start 2,000 more of these. I'm like, you want to start 2,000 more like village churches? He's like, yeah. And I just scratched my head. I was like, that guy has a different faith. Different ambition. You know what I mean?
He has a vision.
He has a vision.
Now,
let me just tell you one more thing about this guy. I mean, I know people enjoy these kind of stories because I do too. But this guy arrived at this village because he had a dream of a village that was being attacked by snakes. Okay. He had never been here before. He lived in a whole different part of Uganda. He gets this dream of this village that's being attacked by snakes. In this dream, he figures out where it's at. Like that next week or soon after, he travels there. This village is literally, people are being bitten by cobras in the village because it's an agricultural village. They're in the middle of farming communities, and they have cobras in Africa. And so he mows down all of like the weeds and the brush, and he like kills all the cobras. Like he gets rid of all of them. And when he does that, the whole village is like, who are you? We want to know what you're about. And he tells them about Jesus, and they all come to know God. And he starts his church. All because he gets this dream of these people who are being attacked by cobras. Okay. This is strange stuff. Like, you're like, this is super, people listen.
That's all God,
this
right
is
there.
weird. Yeah, you're like, what in the world? Like, so this guy tells me this, and I'm like, God, I need a vision like that. Like for my life, that's purposeful. That's not just like about me making money. That's about me changing like the destiny of a community. So I go back home, back to Costa Mesa, where I was living, and I was like, hey, God, and so I just start praying. And while I'm praying at my church I was at in Costa Mesa, we were talking about a Bible study about dropping everything and following Jesus. Okay, like that's a pretty serious call. Like, drop everything. So the pastor, the pastor teaching one night goes, okay, guys, what does God want you to drop to follow him? Don't ask God that question, everybody. Okay. Like unless you really want to hear God say something. So I go, well, Lord, what shall I drop? And I literally hear God say, quit your church job and start a church. I go, okay. So like a week later, I go to my boss at my church, and I'm like, I got to quit my job, dude, to start something God wants me to start. And he's like, hey man, this is why we're in this field. Like,
he was all for it. Right?
He was like, by faith. So I quit this job. Now, before that happens, I'm a planned guy. Don't think I'm just like this wild, like, oh, go do whatever.
This loose cannon.
No, I mean, before that happens, I make phone calls and I check out things and I'm strategic. But I also am like, I want confirmation on whether or not this is from you. Because like, I don't want to just take a feeling. I mean, I want legit stuff. So all this is happening, like, because I told my boss, but then I had like a season of like, you know, they're like, you can go in like a few months, like give it 4 months before you're off the hook. You know, like we need you to shore up things and make sure your job isn't left empty-handed. So I had some things to do. So during that 4 months period, I'm like, I need confirmation. So I get to basically the last week before I'm done, and I haven't had like just the final thing. So I fast like 3 days straight. And in that time period, I had, I mean, multiple crazy things take place that were just very clear. Like for one, like I'm from Minnesota. Okay. So I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. I know if you like, no, everyone loves Minnesota fans because we never win. You know, it's like we're not anybody's threat out there, right? It's like I wear my Twins hat. Every Dodger guy's like, "Hey, bro, welcome to the club." Like everyone loves me. You know, if I go to a Dodger game, you know, it's like cool. But so I'm from Minnesota, and I go to the staff chapel before I leave, and some guest guy comes to teach, and he prays at the end of his message, and he goes, "By the way, this whole morning, I've just felt like God is wanting me to say that if anybody is from Minnesota, or you like a Minnesota sports team, that you should talk to me afterwards. I feel like I have an encouragement for you." And I'm like, I'm the only one on staff that likes Minnesota sports.
But were you wearing any?
No, nothing.
Okay.
No one's wearing any Vikings gear.
Okay.
No. So I go up to him, I go, "Hey, I'm from Minnesota. What do you got to tell me? What do you got to tell me?" He goes, "Oh, I just feel like God wants you to know like that he has something for you in the future here, and that you're supposed to take the next step."
Damn.
And it was like, no one had any, this is in Costa Mesa, random guy, never met him before. He didn't know anybody's from Minnesota. He's like, somebody from Minnesota needs to hear this. And I'm like, there were 50 of us in the room. It's not like 10,000, you know? So it was all this kind of stuff. So long story short, the next step was for me to go back to where my church is now, the kind of the tribe of churches I'm part of, Friends Church, which is based in Orange County. And I went back there to start the church I pastor now, because I had already been there for 12 years, and I had relationships and all of that.
Yeah.
So I made the jump back to Friends Church. I left the church I was at in Costa Mesa, and that was December 2019. And I was like, okay, God, like I left my job.
Yeah.
I came back to where I have the relationships to be able to start something that's good.
Like, what's next?
And then the pandemic happened. So it's like 2 months later, we're kind of gearing up. And then March hits and the pandemic happens.
What were you feeling at that time? Was this like, oh my gosh, God, are you telling me to wait? Or is this like a sign to like put a pause? Or
I mean, like everybody, we were just like, what does this mean?
Okay.
You know,
lots of question marks.
A lot of questions marks. But about April, we got into a room, myself, my good friend and senior pastor who oversees me, a bunch of spiritual leaders got into the room, and we asked ourselves this question, what does God want? But primarily the conviction was, let's not retreat from the mission. And I think like, just pause and form a little principle here of like when there's moments like that, when there's moments that are, global things happening, crisis of any kind, you can see it as like pull back time, or you can see it as an opportunity. And I'm grateful to be part of a tribe of people that are like, this is an opportunity.
Like charge.
Let's charge.
Yeah.
Let's find the opportunity. Let's do something. Let's not just sit around and be the ones that like, wag our finger but not take any action.
Wait it out.
So we just started like strategizing. So part of the strategy was, let's go to 3 different areas and just see if we see anything.
Yeah.
So we go to San Diego, we go to LA, we go to the IE. And I end up in the IE one day, and I'm walking around, and I just kept on asking, God, are you at work here? And all I kept on having was, and maybe in those who are in entrepreneurship know, when you just get something grabs you. You know what I'm talking about? It's like it's grabbed you before.
Yes.
You see a need, and something in the IE just grabbed me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't know if it's going to happen. I just need to be here.
Be here more than the other locations.
Yes. So I said, I was like, we're not doing San Diego. We're not doing Pasadena. We're not doing LA. We're going to do here.
See, these are the little things I don't know.
Yeah. We were going to go Pasadena.
Okay.
And we were going to go North San Diego. And it was like all around. So then I just started coming out here, which is when I met you.
Yeah.
And that was about the same time.
Dang, that is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
But it all came out of what's not retreat.
Yeah.
Don't reach like crisis moments create opportunities in every area.
Yeah.
Don't retreat.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity before you.
Yeah. I like that. Going back just real quick, when it comes to, I think it's important to know in that story in regards to like sometimes, and I think you actually mentioned this as part of your sermon, like asking for a sign from God.
Yes.
Right. What does that look like? And then you got the sign, right? But then you also asked for confirmation.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
I feel like some people are like, I never got a sign, so it never happened, and that's kind of like the excuse, or you know what I mean? Like what?
Well, I mean, if you don't get any kind of confirmation, so confirmation should be when you're making decisions. There's all kinds of rubrics of how to make it well, right? But like, I'm an intuitive decision maker. I kind of trust my gut on a lot of things, but I have like a Jedi council that I go to, right? Everyone needs a Jedi council. Okay? No matter what you feel about Star Wars, like you just go have a Jedi council of people that you run decisions by, wise people. And I have a group of people like that in my life.
Yeah.
But I believe that God works through peace. That when you have a peace about something, that's one good thing. I believe God works through other people because in the Bible says that we are made in God's image. So we all have natural dignity, natural value, right? Every human being. And whenever a human being says something to you that's kind of in line with where you sense God, you like, oh, I need to listen to that. So we had people, you being one of them, who just said things and things happened that just felt like it was in line with where God was already leading.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I'm hearing mentors say this is good. I'm feeling at peace about this. I'm seeing doors open. Other people, other image bearers are saying similar things.
Yeah.
I think I should keep walking.
Yeah.
So on that level, it is by faith, but everything's by faith, but also like it's also done in confidence.
Yeah.
That there's something I need to move on here.
Yeah. Yeah. So guys, me and Aaron met in line at East Brew Cafe in Southern California here in the city of Eastvale.
Great coffee shop, by the way. Shout out. Yep.
Great coffee shop. And I remember you saw my old logo on my shirt.
Yeah.
And the first thing is, hey, man, this is your podcast? Let me guess, you're a youth pastor?
Yeah.
And
So
correct me if I'm like,
I thought you were a youth pastor because you're a super cool guy. And of course the parables, like Jesus taught in parables. So I'm looking at you, I'm like, this is a youth pastor. And I'm looking to figure out to start a church. Maybe this guy will give me some intel. And I'm like, bro, tell me what, and you're like, nah, man.
Sorry to disappoint you.
You're like, nah, bro, this is not like a Jesus study thing, I was like, oh, okay. And I walked out, and you were sitting on your phone waiting for the food for Jamie, and I pull up your podcast, and I'm like, this, and I start listening to like the first 2 episodes, and I'm like,
oh, those are one of the most cringy ones.
No, they were like good. I'm like, this is legit. This is great. So then I went over to talk to you, and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a church out here. Can I just pick your brain about people here and the culture and what's needed? And you're like, yeah. And I mean, dude, what were you thinking? I mean, what were you going through? You just gave me your number and we're like, let's grab some coffee next week.
Yeah. You know what? I just, I think there's times where you just meet great people, like all the time. And then there's those ones that you just remember, in regards to kind of like why you were there. And I think I told you this too. Like as much as I like to consider myself very outgoing and social, I kind of just don't meet people like again and again and again, or keep in contact with them without, there's really like something going on there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But just like you, I felt at peace. Mm-hmm. I felt there was definitely a connection there. And then just the fact that in my walk of faith during that time, it just seemed like perfect. Like the timing in regards to what you were doing and where I was in my walk of faith. Yep. And so just to give guys some context and we'll move on, like it's this, we met again, right? And, we had some times when we were crying, and it's always funny you tell that story. Like, people probably walking by, like see 2 dudes like eating a burrito and like crying, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. But it was just incredible how we met. And I do take pride when you even reference me as member number one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For real. Like Ejay is member number one of our church, everyone. Like literally.
And so it's an incredible, just being a part of the story of Friends Church Eastvale just means a lot to me.
So when we got to share our own faith stories together on that patio, when I went home after that, that was like, there were about 3 moments where I was like, this is, talk about like signs.
Yeah.
And you were one of those 3 where I drove home and I'm like, God is changing my life through this guy. And if there are more guys like Ejay in this area, if love is an indicator of something good, I'm like, I love it. Like, I love this guy. This guy has a great heart. I want to keep being out here.
Yeah.
That for me gave me a burden. And, when I think your purpose in life because you have a burden. If you're a business person or if you're a leader, a parent, and you're like, well, what's my purpose in these things? Your purpose comes from your burden. And
so good.
You can't have a purpose without a burden. And your purpose can't be, I got to make more money, because you can make more money for the next generation, to give to something, but it can't be all about you.
Yeah.
Whatever your purpose is, your purpose transcends you. So when you have a burden, it usually transcends your own ego. It transcends because, like I'm only going to do something until it's hard, then I'm out. That's not a purpose. That's just a hobby. That's a job. But a purpose is something that you have a burden for that you're willing to actually suffer for. The word passion, it means to suffer for something, right? So when you have a burden, and that's your purpose, you'll actually have passion for it. You'll suffer for it. You'll go through hard times for it. And the way that your burden is, I think, looking around the needs and going, what burdens, but what breaks my heart, and what stirs my longings for helping people and serving people. So I started to feel a burden for the people in the area that our church is.
I see.
And it was like, if there are people like Ejay here, like that's a burden I want.
Yeah.
And so that drove me. And then the last sign, and I've told this to you, it's just a great story, but right before we launched, because, you started church, like that's a big commitment, man. Yeah. So I was like, I know I'm a man of faith, but I need to know that I know that I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so in that same time period, we were also thinking like, okay, if this doesn't work, I need a job. So I had like secondary, options. And I was talking to a church out in Texas, in Austin, and for a role, and we were out there interviewing, and I came back and I did a wedding in Corona, California, which is near where our church is. And I did this wedding, and I got to the location of the wedding. It was a house, because it was during the pandemic when all the weddings were in backyards. And I pulled up to the front door. The guy opens up, and the groom's name, or the host of the home, he opens the door. His name was Austin. And I'm like, hey, Austin, I'm Aaron. I shake his hand. I turn around, and just as I turn around, a giant flower truck from LA district pulls up to drop flowers off. And I looked down at the truck, and the truck license plate was from Texas.
Yeah.
And literally, I just gotten back from Austin, Texas, the day earlier. And here within 2 feet of me is a guy named Austin and a license plate that says Texas. And I look at it, and I look at him, and again, this is, we believe in the supernatural. And so I take 2 steps, and I literally, like, in my heart have this impression and this idea, this moment. And what happened, and the voice, you call it a voice, call it impression, said to me, this is your Austin, Texas, right here in the Inland Empire. Like, don't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
You don't need to check anything else out. And so between meeting you and having this moment of, this is your Austin, Texas. I mean, it felt like holy ground, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That moment, you and a couple others, it was like, okay, man, like this is it.
Yeah. You don't got to give me no other signs, Scott.
No, I took the chips, and we just put the chips in the middle.
Oh my gosh.
Point, right.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I always love hearing that story, just because it's just the little details. You know what I mean? It's the little details. And so I want to touch on something that you said, the different, like you spoke about purpose, and then passion, and then, kind of like God's assignment. I feel like people struggle with that. And I say that just because from personal experience, right? Yeah. I have a passion, but I know I also have purpose.
Yeah.
But also, how do I know that's God's assignment for me?
Right.
What would you say to someone that's struggling with that?
Great question. I think we have multiple assignments in our life. Okay. Multiple assignments come from different seasons. And, but I also think you'll have one or two big purposes in your life, you know, and I think your purpose, like I said, is based off of what burdens you the most. And, you know, when it comes to people who are trying to make a living from something, sometimes your purpose is not the thing that you make your money from.
Yes.
Like, so there's a difference between gainful employment and my purpose. And so, and now when you can merge those two, that's a different, so that is like, I think what a lot of people are pursuing.
Yeah. That's the unicorn right
that's
there.
The unicorn.
Yeah.
So there's a job. The job is your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I mean, whatever job that it just pays the bills. And so, and I've had seasons, I had long seasons in my 20s where I just had a job and I was in sales and I did these things and I was like, this isn't my passion. It's not my purpose. It's not even gainful employment. I can't even like earn a deep salary. It's just a job.
Yeah.
So there's a job, then there's gainful employment, which is probably where you like a lot of people live. You know, they get a salary, they make a pretty good wage. It's kind of the middle class. And they're always in tension of like needing a little bit more. You know, there's a longing. The job doesn't quite fit my gifting. It fits 70% of what I'm good at, but there's the 30% of what I'm good at that it doesn't match up well, and it's kind of always off. That's gainful employment. And then there's like this place of deep purpose, you might call it calling, where your gainful employment matches what you're passionate and purposeful about. And if you can get there where your passion and your purpose is what actually gives you gainful employment, that's when people often say, I never work a day in my life again.
Yeah.
Right.
Or like I'm working for free.
I'm working for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would you say that like, how are you able to like find that connection? Is that just through like maybe prayer? Is it just like something that you enjoy or like you're skilled at, or like maybe one of the talents that God has instilled in you? Or
yeah. I think all of the above.
Okay.
There's no guarantee that you can ever get to that third level.
Yeah.
I think it's very rare. I think maybe by the end of your 40s, the beginning of your 40s, you should know what I'm good at, who I am, what my identity really is.
Yeah.
And maybe you can get into that last season of your work, your best work, where it's coming out of who you are. You know, they talk about that. It's that last season of like really fruitful work between end of your 40s until your early 60s, when you're kind of really making the biggest contribution. And hopefully by that point, all that's merged together.
Yeah.
So it's patience, it's time. I think it's patience, it's time, it's opportunity. It's all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all. I mean, and it's not even education. Like education, we know this is a tangent, but like it's changing so much in America. People oftentimes now are just going to college to network and meet the people where they can figure that out sooner.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about education, it's about networking opportunities.
It's kind of like not the same as it used to be.
Just because they feel like they can accelerate finding a partner, finding a group of people they can start a business with, where they can get to that third level a little quicker.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like taking like 20 years of like meeting people and doing a good job and getting promotions from within, you know, they just go find some guys to do business with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Let's talk about a little bit about leadership real quick, because the church, right, went from our rooftop at Silver Lakes. Now we have a permanent location, right? And obviously with that, there was a lot of growth in members. Yeah. I think we're maybe around like 300. We peaked at like, 500, 600 during Easter?
Yeah, we have 350 regular members in the first 3 years. And then like on big weekends, it's like 600 people.
All with that, with growing members, an increasing number of staff, right? I mean, what does leadership look like at that?
Number one, you know, you reproduce what you are, not what you say. You reproduce what you are. So, you know, you want to, and they always say this in business and in ministry too, it's true. Like culture transcends your vision. The culture that you create, it's more powerful than what you say about where you're going to go. So we can say in business, we want to have 10 restaurants, you know, but if you get to the restaurant and the culture of the restaurant's awful, then it's like, you're not going to have 10 restaurants. Yeah. So, you know, you reproduce who you are, not just what you say. So leadership, I think on all levels is always, you know, like I need to model it. Yeah. I need to model who I am, I need to live this out. It's not just me giving instructions. It's also me living the way that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's number one. Leadership is solving problems. One of my mentors, one of my wise Jedi Council members, he always says to me, you just choose your hard in leadership. There's no leadership without hard.
Yeah. And
there's no starting anything without hard. I have a few friends who've started things in the last couple of years, and they're like, yo, this is tough. And I'm like, yeah, bro. Like my cholesterol was so high my first year of the church.
I did not know that. Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've had health things I've committed myself to, being in shape and exercise, which is great, but man, it's hard.
Yeah.
And there's no leadership and no entrepreneurship without the hard.
Yeah.
So you choose your hard. What is your hard going to be? Is your hard going to be maybe your vision? Is your hard going to be your staffing? Like, what is your hard going to be? The sales things? Like, choose the hard. Like, whatever it's going to be hard, but you choose it.
To everyone's surprise too, typically if it's hard, that's usually like the good route, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the better route.
Yeah.
Because a lot of growth happens there.
Yes.
Right. And all that other stuff.
Yeah. Usually I think like there are mountains to die on now, and there are mountains to not die on for sure. And there's wisdom in which ones to avoid, a lot of people, when they start companies and business, it's like the minimum viable product. Like, what's the minimum that we can offer this to be able to get people to buy and have customers? And we've had to have lots of trade-offs in that. Like, what's the minimum we could do church in this way? Like when we had church in a bar originally, essentially. Yeah. It's like, well, what's the minimum we can do church in a bar and not turn people off? Like, because there's alcohol chained and covered up. And our kids,
True story, guys.
Literally. And our kids are like in a room where we had to cover up wine, all this wine stuff. Like, okay, what's the minimum we could offer people to make them feel like this is safe, that their kids are in a safe environment? What do we need to do? But the same thing is true with like, you start a company, like what's the minimum product I can offer that people will actually buy and invest in? It's not the end result. Like, it's not version 3, but this is the one that people will pay for. And in 5 years from now, when there's more money in the bank, like, we'll have a better product down the road.
Yeah.
And so there's trade-offs in all of it. And so you choose your hard and you keep going and grinding a lot.
Yeah. Last question before we move on. As a leader, and you're leading and that leadership continues to grow, what does that look like in regards to, because you put God first.
Yeah.
God's the one that leads you. How's that connection in regards to you leading the people,
right?
Leading your people?
Great. That's another really great question. I think, I will say this, like in the book of Nehemiah, it's a book in the Old Testament, Nehemiah builds the wall that goes around Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And Nehemiah, God gives Nehemiah a vision. And then Nehemiah picks up a hammer and he goes to work. I mean, if you're ever looking like, I want to read the Bible, the first 4 chapters of Nehemiah, for anybody who's never read the Bible, really fun read. And Nehemiah picks up a hammer, he begins to hammer, and he's working. And what he realizes is about every 3 weeks, a problem happens. And so the principle is basically every 21 days in leadership, you need to recast vision. Because vision leaks.
Yeah.
So when you're leading something, every 21 days, you need to recast vision for people. People forget vision, and Nehemiah set the example that every 21 days he would recast what God had told him in different ways, in different styles, but he recasted the vision.
It's like a recharge.
It's a recharge.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that too. Like, so even this past Sunday, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. I gave a little vision to the church in one of my points, just because I know that I'm gone 2 weeks. So by the 3rd week that I'm coming back, like, the vision is going to begin leaking again.
Yeah.
So in your business, in what you're doing, you need to recast vision for your staff, for your employees, for the people buying from you, about what the purpose is for what you're doing pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And you need to go back oftentimes to your convictions and your values and your time with God to reconfirm, is this still the vision?
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, that I think a lot of times people in business and in ministry will oftentimes create too large of a vision. Like a 10-year vision is great, 5 years is great, but you need to have like a every year vision.
Interesting.
And because every year you can have metrics to that, and you can say we're actually accomplishing it, and you can break it down. And so I think we have our big mission is this, that never changes, but our vision over the next year is this, and
Yeah.
you can really have metrics around that. And that way you allow, because God is active, I believe. He's working all the time. He does new things. He's always trying to create new things. He's a creator and he brings new things. So I believe that like in a year from now, he may want to do a new thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to just be set in my ways, and you don't either. So it's like, we're going to do this for a year and we're going to recheck in and go, okay, are we still supposed to do it?
Yeah.
And are we still supposed to keep doing it?
Yeah.
God may say, I want you to do this instead, and start to focus on that. So
Yeah. I like that, because you could try to cast a vision, but the vision may be so big that other people may not see it.
Right.
And you're kind of meeting them at their level and like, again, like you said, like recharging.
Right. I mean, I think about the picture that I always have in my mind is of a highway with mountains. I'm going to Mount Rainier next week for vacation, and we're in the 5 freeway, and I'm going to see the horizon ahead of me, right? That's like the 1-year vision. And then there's going to be the foothills. That's like the 3-year vision. And then I'm going to see Mount Rainier. That's the 10-year vision. And I always need to be giving people in my church and in our businesses, like, here's the 1 year, here's right in front of us. Yeah. Here's the 3 year, here's the 10. That's the mountaintop.
Yeah.
And if you only give them the mountaintop, but never the next couple steps, they will not know where you're headed.
Yeah. Speaking of like the stuff in regards to challenges, the hard and things like that, what would you say has kept you grounded, or what can people do to stay spiritually grounded when it comes to that? And those maybe in business or always in a fast-paced environment, they're leading their family, things like that.
Oh, I love this, because we are surrounded by a culture of hustle, right? It is all about the hustle. We feel it. I feel it. People are weary and tired. A few years ago, the pandemic was loneliness. I think the pandemic now is fatigue. People are just so tired. So, and especially leaders, and good leaders are hard to find. So staffing is hard, hiring good people is hard. And you feel it as a staff and in business and leadership, you feel the fatigue of not having enough good people. So what do you need to do to care for yourself and that kind of thing? I mean, I believe that God gave us the best gift in Sabbath. And if a leader needs to recharge and keep themselves healthy, God wove it into the fabric of creation. He created what's called the Sabbath, 7th day. And you don't have to be spiritual even to understand this concept, because, God gave the Sabbath to the Jews when he gave them the 10 Commandments. But before he even gave that to them, when he created the world on the 7th day, he said, he rested. So ever before even like there was ever the 10 Commandments, God created a rhythm in creation, in the work cycle, that on the 7th day there would be rest. And there are 3 things that he says in that in Genesis when it goes with the creation. It says that he created the 7th day, and on it he rested, and then he blessed it, and he made it holy. So there are 3 things to know about Sabbath. Number 1, it's a day of rest. Oh, that's good. It's a day of delight. It's a day of stopping. It's a day of ceasing. It's a day where it's a day of I get to. I get to go to Disneyland with my kids. I get to not have to check email.
Yeah.
I get to do stuff that I want to do, right? Not just what I have to do.
Yeah.
And then it's blessed. There's a certain blessing that happens when you honor it. There's renewal. There's revision. There's something that happens in you that gives you passion to keep going. And then it's a holy day. It's a day, I mean, heck, man, like you don't have to have any kind of faith to know that you get people in the same room that you love around a dinner table, and you can just say, this is holy. Like there is something about a shared meal with people that you love without entertainment, without screens. And you're like, there's something about this that's holy.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what God intended. And so I think the Sabbath is a great rhythm of learning to rest, to not check email, so that you can continue to lead the way God has designed you to lead.
I love that. I love that a lot, actually. That's why I feel like people should, you should protect that day.
Yeah.
That's your day. That's God's day. Right?
It's God's gift to you for rest. And don't we need it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Yeah.
It's God's gift to be able to go, I get to take this heavy backpack I'm carrying, and I get to say, God, you are in charge of the results, not me today.
Yeah.
And I let it go, and I just get to delight in the fruit of the hard work.
Yeah.
You need to enjoy it.
Yeah. I love that. It's a good reminder as well. I'm curious to know. So there's something I'm very curious about in regards to the concept of sharing wins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're huge on stories. We're huge on sharing your testimonies because we know that could be an anchor or a catalyst for inspiration for people to do something good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, it could be looked at as, ego, like, your non-humility.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm sharing like all the good stuff I have. Right. So I'll give you an example. Like there's no question one of the biggest things in my life I strive for is wealth. Mm-hmm. Right. But I want to use wealth as the many other things I'm striving for. I want to use wealth not only to provide for my family, but to be a tool for good.
Right.
And, there's a saying that like, I want to make so much money and wealth that I could bless other people with my pockets.
100%.
Right. And so what are your thoughts on that in regards to how can I still, is it good to share my wins, like what I'm doing?
Yeah.
But at the same time, is there a level, I guess you say you got to have a sense of humility, being humble.
Right.
Like where's the struggle with that in your thoughts?
Great question. Great question. So like number one, like the Bible and God are never against success from what I can tell. Maybe someone could prove me wrong. What the Bible is interested in more is the means of which you get to there. Right. So there's the ends and there's the means. And like the end result of something, if someone's successful, has lots of money, like there are a lot of characters in the Bible who actually supported Jesus' ministry who had wealth. Joseph of Arimathea who gave the tomb to Jesus, put Jesus' dead body in the tomb, was a very wealthy man. There were many wealthy women that actually supported Jesus' ministry in the Gospels we read about. Jesus never said, hey, stop being successful. It was the means of how you get there he's interested in. And it's also how you let that define you. So the rich young ruler was a very successful young man, but he allowed all of that wealth to basically like define him.
Yeah.
It was getting in the way. And so God never wants our success to get in the way of who he is, and he doesn't want it to make us arrogant and self-centered. He wants us to, the Bible uses the word stewardship. A steward was a manager. So it's like, I want to manage everything God's given me. Yeah. I want to manage him for and to maximize it. And I think God's expecting people that when he gives something to them, to maximize what he's given to them.
He's entrusting us to be good stewards of everything he's provided.
And not just money, but like your potential, your gifts, your abilities. It's all from him, and so how can I maximize every part of my life
so good.
For his purposes, not for my ego, but to be a catalyst for good. The Bible's also very interested, like I said, though, in the means of getting there. So like how I get there is just as important as that I get there. So in other words, I don't even know if Harvard has a business ethics class anymore. I'm sure that they do, but I know when I was in seminary that they would talk about how Harvard was getting rid of some of their key business ethics courses because it was like, it's changed so much.
Yeah.
But your business ethics matter.
Yeah.
They matter. How you do business, how you treat your customers,
how you treat people,
how you pay out your employees, how you do, all of it matter. How you get to success matters just as much, if not more, of actually landing there. And then what happens when you get it? And do I see it as mine, or do I see it as I've been entrusted with this to be used for God and for him?
I love that. It's just, again, like some people, they could look at someone who may show like, oh, I donated to this, GoFundMe or nonprofit. And then like, oh, here's so-and-so, showing off his cars. But I've, surrounded myself with people who use that as an inspiration for good. Like, hey, this is just a tool.
Right. It's a tool.
This is just a tool, but this is what you can do.
100%.
If you do this and you do that, right, and you trust yourself in God. So love that.
Great question.
Let's talk, one of the things I think, as we're almost wrapping up here, there's two more things I want to cover. One of the things I love about you, Aaron, is the fact that we're like the same. We're almost, I guess I could even use the word obsessed with personal development and self-mastery, right? What does that look like? Because when that happens on this journey to self-mastery, and that's a lifelong thing, we can both agree with that, transformation takes effect, right? And so what's that connection between, having your faith with God and self-mastery? What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, there's a passage in the Bible that says God is at work in you to both will and to work for his good pleasure. In other words, God is at work in you to will. And, all of us have a will. A will is the part of our lives that makes choices. I believe that God is at work in all of us to will, and it says for his good pleasure, meaning that we would do things that would please him.
Yeah.
And so in terms of like self-mastery and self-growth and I think God is at work in each person. He's at work in you. And what's he doing? He's moving us to make decisions to do the best we can with the life he's given to us. So I do think that's a very important, at play. He's at work in us. He's to will. That's in Philippians, if you're familiar with that passage. But I also think, about like the person of Abraham in the Bible. He was a father of faith, right? And he accomplished a lot, but he was a man who believed God a lot. And, the thing about Abram is that he believed God. He didn't just believe in God. There's a difference. You can believe in God, that he exists, but you may not believe God when in the word. And I believe that like when you believe God, not just believe in God, you start living differently. So I believe, me personally, my conviction, I believe Jesus. I believe Jesus' word. I believe that what he has taught in the Bible is better for all of life.
Yeah.
And I take that at his word and I try to live it out. Not perfectly, but I try to. I don't just believe that Jesus was a rabbi in Jerusalem in 2,000 years ago. I don't believe that he just existed. I believe Jesus. And when you believe in God, you do something.
Yeah.
You actually will like steward your life differently, and you'll go, I need to make some changes.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I think actually brings ultimate transformation is I believe God, and when I believe God and I trust him and I believe that he'll come through for me in the hardest moments and he'll be there for me, I'll take risks for him and do things and make changes to my life, cut things out that I don't need to have anymore, say no to the bad vices and the bad habits, and I'll begin to live my life under his empowerment because I believe him.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing also is like God wants us to become better, like to seek that self-mastery.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Got it.
Yeah, I believe 100% he does.
Yeah.
He's at work in us, God is at work to will and to will for his good pleasure. So he's at work in us to do something for him.
Yeah. And I ask that just because how many people that we know just seek comfort, right? That just stay stagnant, they stay idle.
Yep.
When we know God is calling us to again become better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So.
Yeah. And I think that for most of us begins in our minds. In another book of the Bible, it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So like our thoughts, our mental health, the lowest common denominator is not just comfort. It has to be, hey, what's true? Yeah. What's true about this situation? I want to align my life to what is true, principles that are true, and I want to live according to truth. And when I live according to what is true and real in the world, then my life sort of kind of falls into a pathway that honors God, but I think is also like more successful, just frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Last question as we kind of wrap up here. From your years as a leader, ministering, being a pastor, what do you think is the biggest misunderstanding about God?
Wow. That's a last question of the day, bro. I'll put it like this. I put that most people think that God is, they confuse God, that he's distant and far and he's so near. He's way more near. It sounds like a Christmas message, but at Christmas time, we often talk about Emmanuel, which means God with us. And, God is with us when we're cleaning the dishes. He's with us in the car on the way, the drive. God is with us. He's so near. He's with us in the hardest moments. He's with us, in the valley, right? Psalm 23. I think people oftentimes think God is really far and distant and removed, when in fact, I think when you read the Bible and you get to know him, he's way more close to us than we could ever imagine.
Powerful.
And I would say, if I may, just one last little quick story snippet. If there's anybody who feels that they're distant from God or God is distant to them, I would point to the story of the prodigal son, which is, I think, the story of the Bible. And it's, about this wealthy son who runs off in rebellion, and he does what no Jewish person should ever do, which is basically feed the pigs and the slop. And he's just lost. And all of a sudden it dawns on him that his dad, who's back at home, would welcome him back. And he just goes, what am I doing? I need to go back home. And he goes back home, and the passage says that as he comes over the hill, his father sees him and runs to his lost son. And in that day and age, if you were a Jewish wealthy man, you never ran. Like a wealthy man nowadays doesn't run. Like they're very distinguished. The passage says that the father ran to his son, and that father is an illustration of God. And so if someone's far from God, they feel far from God, man, the invitation of the New Testament is just make the turn and head back home. And the moment you head back home, God is like, I am running back to you. Yeah. He's so quick, he's so close, and that's available for everybody.
A mentor once told me, you are the most qualified to help the person you used to be. And there was a time in my life where, again, when we met, I know God, I know he exists, but I just felt distant, right? And so I wanted to end off with asking you, where can someone start? Meaning, if someone just wants to know Jesus, where should they start?
Mm-hmm. Great question. I think it begins by doing exactly what that prodigal son did, of just going, there's a better life out there than I'm having. And I'm just going to, wherever I am, whether I'm listening to this at the gym, whether I'm bench pressing right now, or whether I'm driving the car, I can right now turn to God and say, God, I don't know you really well, but I need you in my life, and I want to turn to you. And the moment they do, God sees the heart. It doesn't have to be formulated in a very clear prayer. It doesn't have to be formulated in something that sounds perfect. God knows your heart. You could just say, God, I want to know you. Would you reveal yourself to me right now in my life? And the God of creation can absolutely step in your world and be a part of your life just in that moment, right now.
I love that. So even if you're just having something in your heart where I just want to know God more.
Yes.
It's already there.
It's already there.
Yeah, he's already seeking
you. Start with that.
Yeah.
Start with that.
I love it. Well, Aaron, I appreciate you, man, coming on the podcast. Just real quick. First is, where can people get in contact with you if they just want to, reach out to you? Maybe they want to know about God a little bit, get some direction, and maybe, any invitation to the church, just any.
Church is Friends Eastvale on the Instagram. I'm taking a break for the next month on social media. I'm Sabbathing from social media for the next month, but my social media handle on Instagram is Aaron Oph, Aaron Oph. And they can find me there. And then I'm also, Instagram, social media one for the church, again, is Friends Eastvale. I post a lot there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys. Parables Podcast with Aaron Ophaug. We are out. Thank you. Perfect. Hey, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. If you enjoyed the episode and found value, don't forget to hit that follow so you are always updated and in the loop with the latest episode drops. In addition, if you could rate the podcast, that would help us tremendously with visibility. Lastly, if you know someone that would enjoy or benefit from this episode or the show, please pay it forward and share it with them. It means a lot to us. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.